Economic uncertainty looms over Wall Street after a back and forth between the U.S. and Canada on tariffs. On Wednesday, the U.S. will impose 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports. On Tuesday morning, President Trump had said he would double the levy, specifically for Canada, to 50% in response to Ontario's Premier Doug Ford putting a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to Michigan, Minnesota, and New York. But late afternoon on Tuesday, Ford said he would suspend the surcharge, and the Trump administration said Canada's tariffs would stay at 25%, essentially putting us back to where we started. All three major stock indexes lost ground Tuesday amid the uncertainty, although not as much as Monday. The Dow fell nearly 500 points, or about 1%. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ were both slightly in the red as well. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick spoke with CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cortez about the volatility.
Is it worth it even if it rattles the markets day after day?
The markets are going to learn. Let the deal maker make his deals. Let the best negotiator and the best person who cares about America, let him make the deals.
President Trump did not rule out the possibility of a recession in an interview that aired on Sunday. At the White House Tuesday, President Trump was asked again if he thought an economic slowdown was coming.
I don't see it at all. I think this country is going to boom. But as I said, I can do it the easy way or the hard way. The hard way to do it is exactly what I'm doing, but the results are going to be 20 times greater.
CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins us now. So I don't quite understand that part. What would be the easy way versus what he's saying is the hard way, which is what he's doing?
Well, I think the easy way would just be, keep the ship going as he can. Yeah, status quo. Because, let's be honest, he doesn't have to go for re-election, right? He can just kind of let things go, and there are no consequences if he doesn't make good on these promises, because he doesn't have to run
Political
again.
consequences.
Political consequences, yes.
How would you describe what the markets did today?
Whiplash, definitely. I think overall it was still anxiety, still a sell-off, but not as dramatic as we saw yesterday and last week. The Dow did close down nearly 500 points. At one point, the NASDAQ was positive. The S&P was positive. I think investors really there was so much back and forth with a potential shut off of electricity at one point, and then that was paused, and then these tariffs are going into place tomorrow, but not as extreme. Investors are just digesting, and I think at the end of the day, you saw a little bit of an increase in a sell-off because tomorrow we're going to get more economic data. And they just wanted to, let's wait and see, and we'll try again tomorrow.
And look, people at home, they might not be thinking, okay, this tariff was rescinded, this one is still in place, this one's happening April 2nd, but they're looking at their retirements, and they're saying, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. In an official statement, the White House said Trump once again used the leverage of the American economy to deliver a win. But for people who are worried about their funds and they're seeing losses, what is the solution? Just wait and see what happens?
I think it is wait and see at this point, because admittedly, the market is not the economy. And so, yes, there are going to be these swings. And I think the president would argue, well, you're going to be in a much better position in retirement if we have better fundamentals eventually. Now, that is obviously hard to digest as you're seeing that volatility in your 401k. Well, he's saying that if we have more jobs here, if we have more manufacturing here, if that ultimately gives us better leverage with trade agreements, prices may not rise as quickly as we have seen them. And if that's the case of the economic environment in your retirement, well, that would be a better situation. Your money would go further. But that interim pain of seeing your 401k go all over the place in the uncertainty, what I would say is we are not in a situation like we were in 2008. So keep that perspective. Don't look at your 401k if you don't have to. Just set it and wait and see.
What is happening tomorrow with tariffs?
So tomorrow we're going to get a 25% tariff just across the board with aluminum and steel, regardless of where it comes from. So we get a lot of it from Canada. And that is going to cause a potential price increase in really important industries. Steel and aluminum are crucial to home building, to defense, to the auto industry. The other one is manufacturing. And this is where I think it's really interesting. Tariffs are designed to bring manufacturing to the U.S. I've talked to a lot of manufacturers, and they said, well, a lot of our inputs are aluminum and steel. So we want to do more. We want to capitalize on this boom of companies bringing business here. But now they're going to have to pay more in their input costs. So it's kind of a tough dynamic.
So companies and manufacturers are saying we want to build more, but we need these steel and aluminum imports in order to be able to do that.
Exactly. And now with this tariff, it would cost them more if they absorb that themselves, or they would have to pass that cost on to their consumer and businesses that they want to reap.
Are investors also keeping an eye out for these reciprocal tariffs that are due to drop April 2nd?
Absolutely. We have heard the president say this is his big tariff plan, which is coming. I will say, though, I think investors are going April 2nd. That's a couple of weeks away.
Right.
Let's just try and get through the week right now.
Or it could be a negotiation tactic.
Exactly.
We'll wait and see what happens. Okay, Kelly O'Grady, thank you. CBS News political reporter Zach Hudak joins us now. Zach, good to see you. The White House today hosting a business roundtable. I'd like to be a fly on that wall. Who's attending? And do you think that will get spicy?
Lindsay, that roundtable had in it about 100 CEOs from the country's largest and most powerful companies. Among them was the CEO of Walmart, of JP Morgan, of Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and Wells Fargo. And this is very much a moment for the president to reassure these business leaders that they shouldn't be so concerned about the downturn in the stock market. The S&P is down 5.3% in 2025. That's something that concerns Americans, but even more than the average American, concerns people who are running major corporations. Donald Trump has been reassuring Americans that in the long run, there's going to be a change. There's going to be a swing back as a result of these tariff battles that he's initiated with some of our allies. This has been an opportunity for him to speak directly to the most powerful business leaders in the country and say, give me some time. You will see an upturn eventually in the stock market.
Some of our allies, from the White House's perspective, does the back and forth with Canada speak to a shift in the relationship?
It is funny you ask that, Lindsay. Just today, we heard from the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. She referred to Canada as an emerging competitor. She said they are becoming a competitor to us. And this is in line with the way the president has long talked about our allies. We heard him on the campaign trail say repeatedly that our allies take advantage of us, that we give them more than they give us, that they end up winning in all of the arrangements that we have. And we, just by nature of being larger and stronger, end up footing the bill for more defense and actually footing the bill for larger tariffs that are placed on us than we place on our allies. So very much so, the White House is viewing Canada in a new way. And I don't know that I would say they are an enemy, but they are certainly, as the White House press secretary said, a competitor in the eyes of this White House.
And from Ed O'Keefe's reporting, they're looking at us in a different way, too. At the White House Tuesday, Elon Musk was asked to clarify recent comments that he was looking to cut $600 to $700 billion of what he called waste and fraud in entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Let's listen.
We're going to be very careful with any interruption to benefits. In fact, only by tackling the waste and fraud in entitlements like Social Security, Medicare, can we actually preserve those programs for the future.
So despite that, the DNC has put out a statement saying Musk is going after entitlements. Is this becoming a political liability for the White House, or is there still patience of wait and see, let us do what we're doing, and then come for us?
You know, Lindsay, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. We are seeing it become in some ways a liability. We had some new CBS News polling out just at the beginning of this month that showed that about 40% of Americans said that Donald Trump is changing the way the U.S. government works for the worse, whereas only 35% said he was changing it for the better. So we are seeing some pushback on these layoffs and on these DOJ-initiated changes. At the same time, we do know that a lot of Americans, and in particular Donald Trump's supporters, feel that there is a tremendous amount of waste in the federal government, and they're excited about this. They view this as a way that they could see their taxes go down. They could see prices go down. So it really is a mix, but we have seen in recent weeks, just as the firings have gotten greater and as things have been more accelerated with DOJ, a little bit more of a pushback, a little bit more of it becoming in some ways a liability. But I do just want to be very clear that there are a lot of Americans who still think this is a good thing. And that's why I call it a double-edged sword. It is turning many Americans even more against Donald Trump and his administration, while his supporters are getting entrenched and looking at this as something that is exactly what they put him in the White House to do.
Zach Hudak, thank you.